Hello everyone, Helen here. Thanks for coming along to join me today. It's lovely to have you here. And I am having a very hectic week. And so today's podcast is going to be much shorter than usual. And also it's not going to have the usual variety. Although I suppose in some ways it's got a lot of variety because what I'm doing today is just getting you up to date with my 100-day project. I am now halfway through, or in fact I'm slightly more than halfway through, but I'm going to take you up to the halfway point today. And although I know some of you follow me on Instagram, so you're right up to date, not everybody uses Instagram, I know. And anyway, on YouTube I can chat a bit more about the leaves, can't I? So I'm going to bring you up to date with all of the leaves that I've done since I last chatted about it in my podcast, and show you photos as I chat. And so it means I'm going to start from day 34 because I've got up to 33 last time. Just before I do that, thank you to anybody who's been giving me ideas for leaves. They are much appreciated, and if you haven't seen your idea anywhere yet, you're very likely to, because I've still got quite a lot of leaves to go. I have got my tin here of leaves, which is, filling up very nicely. I think I'm having to rethink how I'm going to display them at the end. I've got plenty of time to kind of decide on that properly. But my idea was that I bought these 12-inch square canvas boards, and I was going to just lay them in grids of 5x5 leaves, so that I would end up with four of these boards to hang on the wall, either in a square or in a long thin line. But as you can see from this photograph, when I tried the first 25 on a board, it just looks overcrowded, and I want each leaf to not be crowded out by the others exactly. So I've got to think again about how I'm going to display them. The good thing about putting 25 per board was that it worked out nice and evenly for 100 for 25s. But really, I would quite like to have them in some kind of form of a tree. But it's just how to make that practical for displaying in my craft room, which is where I'm going to be displaying them. So I don't know. I'm still thinking about that. So lots more leaves to go. And so keep your ideas coming if you have any more ideas. And I think some of you actually have started really noticing leaves wherever you've gone. I know a couple of people have sent me photos on Instagram private message, and because you've noticed leaves being used in a particular way in art or things like that. So that's really lovely. So sorry if you've become obsessed by leaves just because I am. And I think Amazon noticed that I was obsessed by leaves because they suggested they started suggesting books about leaves. I don't know, the internet is a bit sometimes you think, how do they know that? Anyway, I ended up buying this beautiful book here called Leaves. It's a storybook, a children's picture storybook. It's absolutely beautiful. And even though I don't work in school anymore, I still from time to time collect, or buy a beautiful children's book because I can just appreciate the artwork in it. I can appreciate very good writing. Because not all children's books are of, a really good standard, but, you can recognise some very good writing as an adult. And this one is just beautiful. He had watched over and cared for her from a seedling, and supported by his love, she grew and grew. This is the story of two trees, one young, one old. It's a story of the seasons, a story of heart-shaped leaves, golden and full of hope. Above all, it's a story of love and resilience and the circle of life. And it's not done in any kind of sentimental way. It's really lovely, really lovely. It could address, a few sensitive issues for a young child. and even for an adult. So yeah, so there we go. I've just got leaves on the brain at the moment. So let's have a look at some leaves from leaf 34. Going back to my childhood here, I had some of the Binker, well, I call it Binker. It might be Ada, I don't know. But anyway, this fabric with holes in it that you can do cross stitch on. So I decided just to do a cross stitch leaf. So for day 35, I just happened to notice in a pile of paper ephemera that I had, that one of the pages was from a children's storybook, which I've since been told is by Enid Blyton. So I just happened to notice that on the page there were some words about beech leaves. So I thought, right, I'll just cut around those and make them into a leaf shape. So day 36, I just did a pale watercolour leaf shape, and with a few different colours in it, and then added some details with a black fine liner pen, which I really enjoyed doing. Day 37, I knitted an alder leaf, and this was a pattern that I found on a lovely little website which I don't think is really being updated anymore, called oddknit.com, and she just makes up patterns for all kind of random things, little things usually. Day 38 is a leaf that I made while I was out on one of my walks, and I thought, oh, I could make a leaf from willow twigs. So I made this one all just sitting outside, so it's just interwoven and there's no glue or anything on it, it's just holding itself together. Day 39, again I used my watercolour paints to do this leaf, and I've been noticing on a leaf that I was looking at that lots of leaves look like they've got a tree at the centre, and so I just wanted to paint a leaf with a tree in the middle. So for day 40 I'd come across a quote that I liked, which involved leaves, of course, so I drew a little illustration for that. I thoroughly enjoyed doing that. Quote is, "Everyone must take time to sit and watch the leaves change." So in other words, just take time to sit sometimes. Let life go by. So day 41, I knitted an elm leaf, this time from the same website that I mentioned before, oddknit.com. And I think it looks really nice in that yarn that I chose. Day 42, a few days before, I'd made a few watercolour leaves and tried different patterns with a black pen, so this is another one I did. Day 43, I made a little leaf-shaped book and wrote in it the origins of the expression to turn over a new leaf. So you can see here, hopefully, I put some information inside where this expression comes from, and the first mention of it as well. I thought that was quite interesting. For day 44, I drew a leaf in the shape of a green man, or maybe a green man in the shape of a leaf, yeah. Because of course the green man, which I have talked about once or twice before, is a figure or a face which is just covered in leaves. So I thought that would be a great thing to have on a leaf. And I drew it in pencil and then in pen, and then coloured it with coloured pencils. I went back to childhood again and got some potatoes and carved out the shape of a leaf, and then just experimented with different shades of green and yellow in painting them onto the potato and printing them, and I just chose my favourite one to be this day's leaf. And then for day 46 I made another little book, because I just started getting a little story in my head that I could write and put into a little leaf-shaped book, My Life as a Leaf. So I imagined being a leaf and what kind of life that I might lead. So I'm going to read you the story now. I'm going to show you the words as well, but I'm going to read it to you. So here it is, My Life as a Leaf. Come, listen to me, and I'll try to be brief as I tell you about my life as a leaf. My home's on the branch of a large linden tree, a fine place to live, I'm sure you'll agree. I began as a bud and burst out in the spring. I was proud of my colour, so vibrantly green. I drank from the earth and filled out my veins, surviving the storms and resisting the rains. With the gentle breeze blowing, I've swished and I've whispered, and in the wild winds I've turned and I've twisted. Resilient and strong, I've stayed here in my place, breathing out oxygen, enriching your space. For the little green aphids, I've offered a home. With other friends too, I was never alone. The birds and the insects came often to feed, and I've tenderly given them whatever they need. A platform to rest on, some much-needed shade, a place to stay hidden when feeling afraid. But now autumn's here, and I hear the earth call. With my bright-coloured hues I'm preparing to fall. I will float from my home without making a sound, and I'll warm all the insects and blanket the ground. A life full of change, there's been sunshine and rain, but my life as a leaf has not been in vain. So there we go, a little mini story about a leaf. And so just to continue on, just to quickly finish off the final few leaves up to day 50. So for day 47, I used a leaf that I'd pressed and dried a few weeks ago, and just decided to glue it to some greenish paper and coated it in PVA glue to sort of preserve it. And yeah, I was really pleased with how it looks, and I think that is the leaf of a wild carrot. But if you think anything different, just let me know. For day 48, I drew a gum leaf onto some handmade paper that I have in my collection. And and I decided, although I wasn't trying to make it look exactly like Aboriginal art, Australian Aboriginal art, I did want to do a dotty pattern. So day 49, I used a list that I'd made of the names of different shades of green. And I was originally just going to write all of these words randomly on a leaf shape, but as often happens, it started forming a poem, so I made it into a little poem, which you can see here. I'll not read that one out to you right now. And then finally, for day 50, I made a little friend for the leaf sprite that I made earlier on. This time I used an oak leaf, and I actually used a real oak leaf as my template and drew around it on the onto the beautiful felt there from Hannahsfield, my favourite felt, and made this cute little character. He's friends with day 31 leaf sprite, and I'm sure they're going to get up to some adventures. I definitely can imagine that there's going to be some stories about them at some point. Maybe they'll even have a little friend as well, I don't know. Anyway, so that brings you right up to date. And just to finish off with today, I'm going to give you a montage of photos of all 50 leaves that I've done so far, just with a little bit of piano music, and then I'll just pop in to say goodbye. Okay, here's all 50 leaves. So there we are. That's my halfway point in the 100-day project. And I look forward to updating you again, in a few podcasts' time. And I shall be back again next week with another short podcast because life continues to be a bit hectic. So, but I do want to pop in each week. I'm enjoying coming here on YouTube and chatting to you each week. And it's nice, isn't it, when you know when to expect somebody. I like podcasts that do that. I look forward to, it's such and such a day and there'll be a new podcast by, somebody who I like. So anyway, until then, until I see you again, take great care of yourself and keep busy, and I'll see you again soon. Okay then, bye.